So it's taken me a little bit of time, but I have learned that I am not a likable person. And that's okay. I like me, and that's fine with me. Like, and I have enough people that I have good relationships with, and it's not like I'm not like poor me, I'm not likable. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't mean likable in the same way as maybe would be perceived, right? So let me try and explain because my brain's a ping pong ball and it bounces all over the place. But so likable in that I am a person who I'm inconvenient. And so people might not be actively disliking me, but they just don't like to work with me. They don't like it when I come into DMV and I can't understand what they're talking about. They don't like it when I ask questions they don't understand why anybody cares the answer to, but I don't understand why they're telling me stuff the way they are and I'm confused. Like, so I'm inconvenient. And so people just don't like to deal with me. And therefore I become kind of an unlikable person. And it's kind of an important piece of self-knowledge for me because for a long time I kept trying to behave likably and be really, say all the nice things and be overly friendly and all that. And it didn't actually help any of these things. Like it didn't make anything go better. It just kind of made me delude myself into thinking they were going to go better, but they didn't. And then I couldn't understand why because I thought I was being so nice and all this. But even if I'm really super duper nice about it and I say all the right things and we all smile and laugh, the fact that I still need something is inconvenient. And so it's still, people don't like it. So I am autistic. I have ADHD and I'm just different. I'm late diagnosis. And so I've been spending my life trying to find all kinds of crazy workarounds, not knowing what was wrong with me, which it's not really wrong with me. It's like not really knowing why someone like me can't fit into a world that should be fitting everybody, right? In my the way that I was raised, believing there's a spot for everybody, which is just not true. But in workplaces, likability now has become something that it honestly shouldn't be as important as it is, but it's really what gets you promotions. It's what gets you hired. It's what gets you respected. Is if you're likable, and people will throw around terms like, "Oh, you're so positive and so, um, you know, just so good at this, that, and the other thing." When really it's that they like being around you. You make them feel good when they're around you. But for people like me who are actually have some struggles that other people don't have, we get labeled as being negative and being pessimistic and, oh, stop complaining and that kind of thing. When I'm not complaining, I am actually oftentimes by the time I'm speaking up, I have really taken things into account. I usually know if what's going on is allowed or not, and I know it's actually against the rules, but because I speak up about it because it's a problem for me, I get labeled as negative and a problem, right? So, some examples being sensory related. I am autistic. My senses are different. Every autistic person is different, also. Like, I'm not trying to, like, as they, if you've heard the saying, you know one autistic person, congratulations, you know one autistic person. We are not all alike. And so I'm not trying to speak for everybody who's autistic. I'm speaking for me. But the sensory stuff is a big deal for me, especially the sense of smell. My sense of smell is extremely strong. And the way that I see it with most people, I assume what happens is, for example, a person comes in wearing a lot of perfume and they notice and they go, "Woo, that's a lot of perfume." And then a few minutes later, they seem to just like adapt and it's okay and they don't notice it anymore. They kind of forget about it. That does not happen with me. It never goes away. It's like every moment I'm like, oh my gosh, that smell. Oh my gosh. And I get headaches, I get migraines, I get like, and I can't stop thinking about it. It makes it so difficult to concentrate, which is already difficult for me as it is. Cause, like I mentioned, I have ADHD and concentration is not something that, is really comes natural for me. And so I keep trying to filter out the smell and so I will mention things, and a lot of times, like in my workplace, we were not allowed to wear perfume, but I would have coworkers who would wear it, and it would be a huge problem for me because anywhere else I can politely slip away. I am at work. I'm stationed at this place. I cannot go home. I can't get a breath of fresh air. I can't do anything. I am now trapped in here with your perfume and it's making me want to die. Like it's just like it's so overwhelming. And so I will speak up about it. And people don't like it because then they're like, "Why are you telling me this or why I don't get me in trouble or whatever?" But I'm like, there's a reason the rule exists. I'm not just doing this because you didn't follow the rules. You are actually assaulting my senses while you're here, and I can't do my job very well. The other one being that was made me very, very, very unpopular was the background music, right? There's music that sometimes gets played in the background. And when specifically it was like the younger crowd, a lot of times would crank the music up really loud. I cannot filter out background music or background noise very well. I already it was a busy coffee shop I'm working in and it's a drive-through and I struggled a lot on drive-through just because I can't filter out the sounds very well and the microphones aren't really great all the time and and then you got people talking in one ear in the cafe and then you're trying to listen out there and then on top of it you suddenly have this music in the background and sometimes it's really obnoxious annoying music I hate and other times it's just really loud. Even if I'd like it, it's too loud and I can't concentrate and I can't hear what people are saying. And so it just gets really overwhelming. And so then I have to be quote unquote negative and complain when really the rule is that it shouldn't be above a certain volume. And so I'm actually like just advocating to enforce the rules that are already there, that are there for people like me, most likely to protect people like me, that other people think are silly rules because they don't understand what it's like to live in this like sensory overload state that I live in. And and so but all of this stuff happens and it comes down to people draw the conclusion that I'm pessimistic, I'm negative, and I like to complain. I hate to complain. I hate to complain. And I see how sucky it must be for people who are enjoying themselves. It sucks when you know everybody else is having a good time, but you're being tortured. And so you have to speak up and ruin everybody else's good time. None of us who do that like to do that. We don't do that for fun. We have to speak up because something is too much for us. And in workplaces, people will tolerate you speaking up and a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you get your way." I'm like, it's the rule. But like I'm not trying to do that and be this unlikable person who then gets on the list of people that don't get promotions because people are complaining about them and saying they're so negative and they're so complaining and blah, blah, blah. When really, I'm actually the one who's following the rules and trying to promote the rules. And anyway, you get the point. But so this being and this is just two, that's just two I'm mentioning, the music and the sense of smell. There's a whole bunch of other ones like people cranking up the heat and I can't handle the heat and I get where I can't actually breathe when it's hot. Like I have other physical medical issues as well that I don't really want to talk to anybody about. I don't want to tell people. I don't want to always have to be telling people, "Here's all my problems," so that they can work around them. I would just like it to be where the expectation and the way the rule is what it is and we actually follow it, understanding that even if we don't know why, because it doesn't affect us, knowing that it does affect somebody, that's why the rule exists. And part of the reason those rules are there is for the sake of accessibility of all different types of people. But I think a lot of people, if they really understood that, probably wouldn't have cranked up the music and probably wouldn't have worn the perfume. Like I do think people would have understood I wasn't just complaining, but like because I don't want to necessarily put all my medical problems on blast, like I just get flagged as like a grouchy, bitch. And it's frustrating because I see it happening with so many different people who are just neurodivergent, like a little bit different, not quite the norm. And you just get sidelined. And we're the ones who probably actually should be promoting in a company because we do understand the standards and the rules and the reasons that we can be passionate about them, even because we know that by following them, we could be protecting other people from going through the difficulties we ourselves have gone through. But instead, we get sidelined until we either leave a job or just stay at the bottom. And the people that get promoted are the people who are positive and bubbly and don't understand why those rules are there to begin with. And so they just keep bending them. And so, anyways, just putting that out there, food for thought.